Kershaw, who will be pitching the opener, of course, for the Dodgers, a game that we're going to broadcast on Thursday night. Giants against the Dodgers from Dodger Stadium. What did you learn about Kershaw when you had your conversation with him?
Well, I learned I was lucky to get 15 minutes with him, because when I told people that, they were like, "Wow, that's amazing." Just for our sake, to mention, Andy McCullough of the LA Times did a terrific piece on him the other day that really got into the magnitude of his season and what he's going through. I didn't really have that much time, and I wasn't going to talk to him about the contract. It was more about what goes into maintaining a standard of excellence for a pitcher. What are the kinds of things, or any great player, what kind of adjustments do you have to make? Look back on some flashpoints of your career. He talked about when he went in, early in his career, and how Torrey and Mattingly told him, "Look, this curveball just isn't working. You're not throwing enough strikes with it, and you're a one-pitch pitcher, and you need to pick up something else." Lo and behold, he picked up a Hall of Fame slider. But I think the one thing that just, really struck me is how, and I went back in my research and saw a story that you wrote about him for the magazine a few years ago, which was great. And it just gets into how maniacal this guy is about maintaining that standard of excellence. He just does not cut a corner. Everything, every pitch in a side session, every simulated game, if he's coming off an injury, he has a standard. And if you see him throwing a lousy breaking ball, he'll stay there and throw 20 more until he gets it right, And Brandon McCarthy said something along the lines of, he's demented, but in a good way. So, I just think there are certain players like that who we can't even relate to their mindset, just because talent-wise is one thing, but just the level of commitment that he puts into this, it's no accident that he's been the best pitcher in baseball, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame.
He just turned 30, and last year his fastball velocity was down somewhat. It's been down also in spring training from where it was last year, and some of that just might be, the need for the adrenaline of the regular season. But every pitcher, Jerry, because Father Time is undefeated, winds up going through some sort of a transition where they go from being a young pitcher who throws really hard to an older pitcher who doesn't throw quite as hard. I talked to CC Sabathia about this a couple of years ago and asked him about that. He said, "Man, I wish I had made this adjustment at a lot younger age." Because CC loves the chess match. Justin Verlander a couple of years ago, Brad Ausmus, the former manager of the Tigers, sat down with him and said, "Hey, you know what? You just can't bully hitters anymore. You can't overpower hitters. You got to look more at scouting reports." Justin dove into that. So yesterday I talked to Kershaw. Jessica Mendoza was there. We're going to play some of this interview on the podcast tomorrow. I was absolutely fascinated when I asked Clayton about making those adjustments. First off, I could see in his face when I asked him that question about making adjustments, it was like he could see that he's not wild about the conversation about getting older. And the second thing was, he said, "I hate it." He doesn't like the chess match. He wants to keep it going where he's the guy, the big Texan throwing 95 miles per hour, challenging hitters on the inner half. And I've talked with enough evaluators who said to me, and by the way, Kershaw last year had the highest percentage of pitching inside of any pitcher in baseball. I've had evaluators say to me, "You know what, as time goes on, he's going to have to learn how to use the outside part of the plate." And that's not really a criticism, because he's still an elite pitcher. He's still arguably the best pitcher on the planet, but there will be a day when that adjustment needs to take place. What do you think?
Well, yeah, there definitely will, but he's been doing it all along. And
Yep.
I mentioned this to Brandon McCarthy. I asked him about it, and he said, "Look, he doesn't throw a changeup. He says he's not very good at the changeup." Well, he'll figure it out, all of a sudden.
Yes.
Or he'll throw a two-seam or whatever. The amazing thing to me when I looked at this, though, was how much his fastball usage has declined through the course of his career. When he started out, he's throwing it 72% of the time. Last year, he threw his fastball 47% of the time, which is exactly the same as Jason Vargas, who, other than R.A. Dickey, had the slowest fastball in the majors last year. So he gets it. he said to me, he goes, it's not like something I go into the season and say, I'm going to use this pitch more this year. He said the hitters tell you what you need to do, and that's the thing. I just think his focus, and he's doing this without, probably much of the advanced metrics, and that's the kind of thing that teams can tell guys now. I think he just inherently understands this. He reads the situations, and again, there's a lot of guys with talent. I just think it's a guy like this, his ability to adjust, to work harder and smarter as he goes, and do all of these things along the arc of a career that just allow him to be so good year after year after year. It's really, really hard to do that.
I agree with you about the changeup. That'll be an interesting pitch, as I say, as he begins to transition from mostly pitching inside to using more of the outside part of the plate. That'll be an important pitch for him.